Most of the time, the person thinks a lot about the past and the future without living the present moment. This is the main reason why he experiences all bouts of the hidden conflict between nostalgia and hope. The Power of Now book is an example of the books that address the human mind and make oneself a source of a radical transformation, and act as a tool for internal and external motivation. It is also a book in which Eckhart Tolle addresses those who find that it deserves all the attention and consideration, although they are not ready to adapt and live with it. Briefly, it is a guide to spiritual enlightenment and achieving the goal and to be qualified to get out of your comfort zone and out of the inherited habits that are the results of the mindset that controlled people for many years. The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. When Buddha was asked about enlightenment, he said, "The end of suffering." This means that our being as humans is two-dimensional, in which there is security, love, and everything we want to achieve. The real enlightenment is the feeling that we feel when we unite with this being, and dissolve in it, in a way that makes a person in no need of anyone except himself. This emotional state and emotional feeling is felt by a person when he is alone and his mind is clear, and when everything that disturbs the peace of his life disappears. But what prevents this state? It is life with all its obstacles, problems and sufferings. However, the end of this continuous nightmare can end when a person reaches conformity with the mind, which makes him able to understand and communicate. In addition, you must free yourself by listening to your inner voice, and you shouldn't judge what you listen to, and this can be done by observing your mind. When you observe your mind, you will provide yourself with energy. When you identify with it, achieve calmness and inner peace, and it is the beginning of unification with your being, and directing your attention to the present moment now as the essence of meditation and focusing, and the beginning of real mental activity. Bit to remember, enlightenment is the unification with the being that man reaches by identifying with the mind and living the present moment. The greatest part of human pain is a mental state before being a physical or psychological feeling. The pain that you feel in the present moment is a form of resistance, rejection, and objection, and its intensity depends on the degree of resistance in the present moment. The more you are able to respect and accept the present, the more you will be able to free yourself from pain. So what creates this state of continuous conflict throughout the course of our lives? To answer this question, we need to know that the mind has several controlling strategies in the course of our lives. In order to be able to control us, it hides our present and the present moment. As the present moment is all what man have, not the past or the future. That is why it must be the center of his thoughts, interests and concerns. Our feeling of pain controls us whenever we choose to live in the past or the future. If we talk about fear, we will find that we do not need it in order to avoid unnecessary danger, as you keep your hand away from the fire, not because you are afraid, but because you know that it will burn you. This psychological state of fear comes in many forms, and different types such as anxiety and sadness, forms of depression, and stress, but its main reason is that you are not living your present moment, but because your mind is living in the future. Bit to remember, you can overcome your feeling of pain by living the present moment and getting rid of the fear of future. The human problem in different ages and times is that he reclines to his taught pain between past and present. But the most dangerous thing is that the past that we hang on it locks us in a certain identity. As for the future, it is the salvation sign for the reality that we live, or the past that we left behind us. But no one has ever asked, is the time that we are talking about real or unreal? In fact, time in its two dimensions, past and present, does not have major importance because it is just unreal. And the most important thing in it is the moment that we live, not the previous one, or the moment that has not occurred yet. That is why the author advises us not to focus on the past or the future. The more you lose the present, the more you feel suffering and pain. To explain it more, we can say that nothing happens in the past or in the future, but it happens now. Because the past is over, and the future is just a picture of what is happening now. So, what do we need? We need to watch ourselves. This means that we need to make from ourselves things we can be blessed with in the present moment and get rid of the past's nightmares, or the future's aspirations. And this makes us forced to watch and guide our minds, feelings, and behaviors toward reaching this action. Problems are made inside the minds, and need time to remain alive. We must not forget this. The problem means that there is a specific condition that accompanies you mentally in the absence of real intention to do something now. Therefore, it puts in your unconsciousness a feeling of arrogance and you become busy with your life to an extent that makes you unable to feel life and existence. Bit to remember, the only way to get rid of life's nightmares and suffering is paying attention to the present moment. The author Eckhart Tolle says that the mind uses a strategy to avoid the present moment. And in order to achieve this, in the beginning we have to understand enough that if you want to be free from time, you have to be free from your psychological past's need to determine your future's identity. It is the unimaginable substantial transformation for consciousness. There are two kinds of unconsciousness, normal and deep. The normal unconsciousness is in harmony with the mind, but unfortunately, it is a poor harmony, because the human being, in order to get rid of the anxiety, confusion, and nervousness, often resort to drugs and alcohol to forget or remove the confusion. But the most dangerous thing is when this confusion transforms into real threat in facing life and its problems, a threat that threats your psychological and social existence, and then fear controls you as a form of terrible psychological suffering. Being free from the pain is not impossible but needs extra effort. And the beginning of this freedom lies in reaching the consciousness by meditating the ways that you become anxious, like judging without previous knowledge, or resisting any new thing, or denying living in the present moment. Perhaps the most important thing that helps you in this is to leave the negativity behind, and confess that every bad thing that we see exists in reality and should be transformed radically without mental judgment. As for complaining, it is a constant refusal for what has existed. Bit to remember, freedom from the pain is not impossible, but it needs to leave the fatal negativity and the thinking of suffering confusedly behind.